Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the emotional and stormy journey of James and Diep's love story. In the previous episode, after countless challenges, dangers, and dark conspiracies that nearly tore their happiness apart, James and Diep finally found the light at the end of the tunnel. James brought Diep back to the city and surprised her with a heartfelt birthday gift. A beautiful, dreamy house surrounded by fragrant flowers, where every little corner overflowed with love and laughter from their small family. It seemed like peace had finally arrived. But life, as always, is never predictable. Just as happiness began to bloom, a piece of breaking news left everyone speechless. A once-in-a-century storm is about to hit the region where James's company headquarters is located. Not only were his assets at stake, but also the people in the countryside where James grew up. The very same people who once sheltered and cared for Diep and their daughter now faced grave danger. What will James do, standing on the fragile line between duty and love? Can he once again become the man who stands tall in the face of the storm to protect everything he holds dear? The answer lies in the moments to come. Don't forget to hit follow and turn on notifications so you won't miss a single dramatic and touching twist in the upcoming chapters. Because in the fiercest storms, true love proves its miraculous strength, and in every trial lies a chance for the heart to grow stronger than ever before. As night fell, the sky remained clear, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers around the small porch of James and Diep's house. The moonlight draped a soft glow over every leaf, making it hard to imagine that within just a few hours, this peaceful place and an entire region would be facing the most powerful storm in 50 years. James sat silently on the bed, the light from his phone screen still glowing in his hand, flashing urgent headlines. Red alert, Category 17. Super typhoon heading straight toward the southern plains, expected to cause severe damage. His eyes were red, not from lack of sleep but from the storm of emotions stirring within. He knew exactly where the eye of the storm was headed, the place he grew up, where kind, humble people once helped a lonely orphan boy survive, where hard-working farmers toiled under the sun and rain year-round. And now, they were facing a deadly threat with no real means of defense. He also knew that his company would be heavily impacted. Supply routes would be paralyzed, shipments delayed, and damages could reach millions. But that wasn't what weighed most on his heart. What haunted him were the faces of the elderly, the children from his hometown, people whose kindness was etched deep in his memories. They were not just residents of a region. They were fragments of his past, pieces of the life that made him who he was. He could not turn his back. That evening, under the soft breeze of a moonlit night, James and Diep sat together on the porch. The chirping of crickets and the rustling of leaves whispered gently, as if nature itself was holding its breath for the storm to come. James held Diep's hand, his heart heavy. "Diep, there's something I need to tell you." She turned her head, her eyes filled with worry even before she heard the words. James took a deep breath. "I'm going to the eye of the storm. I can't stay here in safety while everyone there is facing danger." His words struck like a blade through her heart. Diep froze for a moment, then turned away in silence. She wasn't surprised. She understood the man James was. He always thought of others before himself, but understanding it didn't make the pain any less. I know, you could never just stay still. But James, that's the epicenter. I've read the news. They say it's the strongest storm in half a century. I'm scared. Her voice broke, tears welling in her eyes. James gently squeezed her hand. I'm scared too, but I'm even more afraid of sitting here knowing people need me and I'm doing nothing. I couldn't close my eyes, couldn't stay silent. If I don't stand up now, I wouldn't be worthy of being a CEO, a husband, a father, or even a man. Diep lowered her head. Her heart was torn. Part of her wanted to keep him safe. Part of her wanted to go with him, stand beside the man she loved through whatever storm may come. Then, let me go with you. James fell silent. A breeze blew past, lifting a strand of her hair. She looked at him, her eyes steady and resolute. If we're husband and wife, it shouldn't only be about sharing peaceful days. It should be about facing storms together. I want to be with you. James gazed into her eyes, deeply moved. But then he shook his head. Number. Not this time. You and our daughter must stay here. I need to know the two of you are safe. Only then can I focus all my strength on helping the people. If anything were to happen to either of you, I could never forgive myself. Diep knew then. There was no changing his mind. She clasped his hand tightly, fighting back her tears. Then promise me, you'll come back. No matter what happens, you have to come back. James nodded, his own eyes glassy with emotion. I promise. Because I never truly had a place to call home until I met you. That night, James didn't sleep. He made calls to coordinate relief efforts, mobilized trucks, contacted the emergency response teams from his company, and arranged for food and medical supplies to be delivered. And when dawn broke, the sun barely piercing through the morning mist, James kissed his wife and daughter on the forehead, then stepped into the truck. Diep stood there, clutching the edge of her dress, her eyes locked on the fading silhouette of the man she loved as he disappeared into the fog. Her heart whispered silent prayers, not just for James but for all the lives soon to face nature's fury. A storm was drawing near, but it was in that storm that the light of courage would shine brightest, and the strength of a heart that loves selflessly would be truly revealed. James's car sped along the narrow dirt road that cut through the vast delta, once filled with lush green rice fields, now slowly shrouded by heavy gray clouds. The sky grew darker with each passing minute, and strong gusts of wind began to howl, signaling the imminent arrival of the storm. He wasn't alone. James led an emergency relief team organized by his company, bringing clean water, food, life jackets, generators, and medicine. Upon arriving at the eye of the storm, he had no time to rest. What he saw made his heart ache. The old village, where he had spent his childhood, was now submerged. Rooftops bobbed above the rising water, uprooted trees lay scattered, and families huddled together in makeshift shelters at schools and community centers. Fear, exhaustion, and despair were etched into every face. James didn't just stand and watch. He dove into the work like a true soldier. He climbed onto rooftops to secure tarps for elderly women living alone. He went house to house with the relief team, carrying children clinging to wooden beams, helping the elderly reach safety. He was no longer the sharply dressed CEO, but a rugged man, soaked to the bone, hands covered in mud, and eyes ringed with fatigue. The first day passed under relentless rain. That night, the wind shrieked through metal roofs, and the rain lashed against brick walls like whips. Still, James didn't rest. He wouldn't let himself. He told those around him, "If we can save lives today, we can rebuild everything else tomorrow." But the storm wasn't just rain and wind. At midnight, news came from the rescue team stationed at the main dike. Water was overflowing, and there was a risk it could collapse. If the dike gave way, the entire village would be submerged. Without hesitation, James led a group out to the dike. He and several young men hauled sandbags and wooden planks to reinforce the weakest sections. The wind howled, and waves crashed up to their chests, but James held his ground. Then came the fateful moment. A sudden tornado swept across the fields. The team was caught in a chaotic spiral of wind and water. Screams and cries for help were swallowed by the storm. And then, James disappeared. No one knew exactly what had happened. Some said they saw him slip while pulling a boy out of the whirlpool. Others claimed his silhouette was last seen by the dike, clutching a rope tied to a rescue boat. But after that, there was only wind, rain, and a terrifying silence. The next day, rescue teams searched tirelessly, but in vain. At dawn, Diêp received a call. The voice on the other end trembled. "Miss Diep, we still haven't found James?" She froze. Her world crumbled in an instant. The house, once filled with light and laughter, suddenly felt cold and suffocatingly empty. She collapsed to the floor, her heart shattered. "No, it can't be. James, you promised me." But then Diep stood up. She couldn't just sit there, drowning in sorrow. Holding her daughter close, she packed a bag and got in the car, heading straight to the storm zone, to where he had disappeared, to where she still hoped, even if only by 1%, that he was out there, waiting for her to find him. The road leading into the heart of the storm looked like a painting someone had hastily torn to shreds. Trees lay flattened, corrugated metal sheets were scattered everywhere, houses had collapsed, and thick mud clung to every step she took. But Diêp didn't stop. The car could go no further, so she picked up her daughter and waded through puddles, down slippery roads littered with broken bricks and fallen leaves. The rain had eased, but the wind still cut like ice, threading through her hair and sending chills down her spine. Yet, what made her shiver more was the fear gnawing at every beat of her heart. She didn't cry. Her eyes were dry and hollow after an endless night on the road, staring at the last images James had sent through his phone. A short video he'd hastily recorded at the dike, back when the skies were still calm. She arrived at the place where James had disappeared in the early morning, when thick fog still blanketed the vast, ravaged fields. A young woman carrying a small child, walking through a landscape shattered by disaster. It was a sight that made many turn to look. The rescue team recognized her instantly. No one spoke a word. They lowered their heads, their eyes avoiding hers, as if they couldn't bear to face the fading hope burning quietly in the heart of a grieving wife. Will James survive the storm and return to the loving arms of his wife and child? Can true love defy the cruel twists of fate? The answer remains unknown, and the road ahead is still filled with unpredictable turns. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode, where love, faith, and hope will continue to write a story that touches your heart.
Mưa đã ngớt nhưng gió vẫn lạnh buốt luồn qua từng kẽ tóc, khiến cơ thể Diệp run rẩy. Nhưng điều khiến cô run hơn là nỗi sợ đang gặm nhấm từng nhịp tim. Cô không khóc, đôi mắt đã ráo hoảng cạn khô. Sau suốt một đêm dài ngồi trên xe chỉ biết nhìn chằm chằm vào những hình ảnh. Cuối cùng Diệp gửi qua điện thoại một đoạn video ngắn. Anh quay vội ở khu vực D khi trời còn đang thổi gió. Cô đến nơi, Diêm biến mất vào sáng sớm khi sương mù vẫn còn giăng dày khắp cánh đồng hoang. Một người phụ nữ trẻ ôm con nhỏ bước những bước tranh tan hoang sau thiên tai. Hình ảnh ấy khiến nhiều người phải ngoái nhìn. Lực lượng cứu hộ nhận ra ngay lập tức. Họ không ai nói thành lời, chỉ cúi đầu ánh mắt tránh đi như không thể chịu nổi khi phải đối diện với niềm hy vọng đang dần tan vỡ trong tim người vợ ấy.